This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by DigitalOcean and by Ting. Go to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device or your first month of service. Welcome to the Linux Action Show, episode 333, lucky 333. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hey, Matt, are you ready for me to tell folks about the big show?
Oh, heck
today?
yes.
I am really, really excited about today's show. It has been a huge week for Linux gaming, and we're going to tell you why. And we're also going to go over the top 5 games of the Linux in the fall. These are the best games that are out there right now. And I think every single one of them you'll want to pick up. And some of them are brand new, just came out this week. So I'm calling it our top 5 fall Linux games. And don't worry, if you're not a gamer, we've got a lot of stuff for you too, like our picks and our feedback and the news. There's a lot of good stuff in there. But if you're thinking about getting into gaming on Linux, and a lot of times before we go out to a Linux fest, we'll record an episode that's kind of about gaming. So that way when we're at the fest and we're introducing people to the show, or we're talking to people and we're kind of introducing them to Linux because they're at the fest to learn about Linux, one of the nice things we'll often do is say, well, we just released a show all about gaming on Linux. And so that's today's episode. So hello for those of you who are watching us from Ohio Linux Fest. Hope you had a great time at the fest. We recorded this in the future for you. In the past? In the past for the future.
Space-time continuum thing.
And so what we're going to show you today are some of the games that I think once you see them, it'll unquestionably be time to ditch your Windows installation and switch over to Linux for gaming. Plus, a lot of new features have come out for Steam. There's a lot better ways to get advantage of Steam under Linux now. It can do a lot of new stuff. It can make finding games a lot easier. And I've got some ways to make gaming more pleasant on Linux for you as well. Nice. Don't worry, Matt. We got a ton of other stuff for the non-gamers too. So it is a huge show this week.
Huge.
And why don't we start with our Runs Linux, as is tradition. Our first pick is our Runs Linux picks, and the Hollywood animation film Weta Digital Runs Linux. This came in from Rolf. He sent this in to us. He says, hey, Chris and Matt, check out this video of the making of the animation sequence for the second Hobbit film. He says, it looks like I'm spotting a KDE panel. I think I see a KDE activities button. It might be that Weta Digital uses Linux for some of their workstations. Now, this is super intense, Matt. You got to check this out.
Yeah, let's check a look.
Right. And I want to say a big thanks to Rolf, and you can send us in your Runs Linux too. So we'll play a couple of minutes of this clip. Now, this is his computer screen here.
On the left.
It's kind of hard to tell. So chat room, if you could I-spy maybe the application they're using, I definitely agree with Rolf that it is absolutely KDE. I don't know what app it is, so watch closely and check out how they're using KDE to make the Hobbit film. It's kind of amazing.
Big, heavy shot. So here's the raw motion from the day that we captured of Dwanan throwing the axe to Bomber. One shot. Boom.
Yeah. That works pretty well. So is that you as Bomber killing yourself as an orc?
I killed myself.
Right.
And
so which ones should we start with? I would prefer to injure myself at the end of the day. So.
Okay, let's start with the easy ones.
Even the machines they're using here on the floor are running KDE, and so I thought that was pretty impressive.
That is really impressive.
Yeah, and if you look when he's working here, and also notice he's using a tablet. He's
he's got some Wacom action going on.
And there's no question about it. That's and this is a little. I don't know why it's like. I wonder if we can we go up to 10? Oh yeah, let's go up to the 1080s.
Oh,
YouTube.
there we go.
That is unquestionably. I want to replay this section right here. That is unquestionably the KDE menu right there.
yeah.
Go YouTube, go.
Shot. So here's the.
You see, that's the activities button right there. He just has a huge ass panel. Look at that clock.
Oh, you're right.
That's 100% KDE.
Yeah, look at your little red button at the bottom corner. That's the selling point.
Boom! Look at that. Boom!
There it is.
That's KDE.
Yeah,
there's
that's
Firefox.
KDE.
There's console. There's Thunderbird. So the question I have for the chat room is, what the hell application is that?
I don't think it's Blender. It looks like it could be. I can't think of the name of it. Chat room, I'm sure knows, but
yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's Blender though.
But that's pretty cool. It's so neat.
Blender-like,
It's neat to see really high-end shops that use Linux, and I wish that some of the stuff that they work on, because some of it, the thing is, the reason why we might not, it's possible that this is a well-known application. It's also possible this is something proprietary to their shop.
Maya. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
too.
it could be Maya. Totally. Yeah.
Could be.
I would assume in Hollywood. And so what they show you here is this guy is animating a sequence, and he goes through and then physically acts out each one of the little orcs that you see in the sequence. And see, like right here, they're jumping. This is them falling out of a barrel. Okay, now
Dude, I want that job. So what'd you do today? Oh, I got in a barrel and rolled around with another dude. I mean, that's
so
wild.
then they see how the motion tracking suits on. Then
That
they
is
bring that back
crazy.
into the Maya station or whatever it is, and they map it out. And here I'll show you kind of once they render it out. And even that right there is KDE. Even
Yes,
there on set where they're shooting all of this, they're running Linux both back in the production shop,
That's right.
in the editing booth, and on stage. Hopefully this doesn't get us pulled off YouTube to play. In fact, you know what? I'll mute it to give us our shot.
Yeah, that would be.
So those of you who are not watching the video version, what we're seeing right now is the Hobbit 2, and this is the sequence. And each one of these little guys, they individually animated, brought back into that Linux box, and then composited it all into this one sequence.
That's it.
All these little guys that are flying around were them.
That makes sense. You know, and it's interesting. Chat room points out it's probably Red Hat or SUSE, and I think I think Red Hat's probably it. I would be my guess.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's hard to say.
Who knows? But pretty cool either way. And I wanted to thank Rolf for saying that.
Yeah,
If you
that
would
was
like
really
to,
cool.
If you'd like to send in your runs Linux, just send it to Linux Action Show at jupiterbroadcasting.com or submit it to the Linux Action Show subreddit. Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Before we go much further into the show, I want to tell you about our first sponsor this week, and that's the great folks over at DigitalOcean. Now, I am a droplet fiend these days, and it's pretty easy. I could tell you there's a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is it's so easy to get going. The performance is awesome, and first and foremost, we have a great promo code, too. That's right.
Nice. That works. That works.
Go over to DigitalOcean.com right now. We're transitioning from last October to last September, so you can try both depending on when you're listening to this episode. Last October or last September will give you a $10 credit to DigitalOcean. Now, here's the great part. DigitalOcean's $5 a month. So $10 is going to give you a 2-month credit. Now, here's what I think you could do with that 2 months. Is I would suggest there's a lot of things you could do. You could go spin up an own cloud server, a WordPress, a whole LAMP stack. You could easily go do a GitLab. But this might be a great opportunity to really play with CoreOS because DigitalOcean is one of the first providers that work directly with the CoreOS project. They have a channel from CoreOS where they'll be receiving official updates from the project directly, making sure they work with DigitalOcean. And of course, if you're using the promo code last October, then you're going to get 2 months for free anyways. And I was thinking this morning about some of our recent conversations with the Fedora project leader and sort of the challenges that Fedora and a lot of Linux distributions are facing in this new reality we have where like our top news story is going to be about another massive Linux vulnerability.
Yeah.
And last week it was shell shock. Not too long ago it was Heartbleed, right? And it's just starting to become so excessive. And these distributions are going to have to adapt to this reality. Well, that's where CoreOS is at today. And it unquestionably is going to be the direction of future Linux enterprise servers. And you can go play with it top to bottom for free over at DigitalOcean right now, just as an interesting experiment, if nothing else. That's an incredible opportunity. But you could do it for production, too. I use it to run my BitTorrent sync for production and OwnCloud. I've got a couple of things actually on there. We also have some back-end processing scripts that manage some metadata and things like that for our publishing process. That is also a DigitalOcean droplet. There's a lot of things you can use a DigitalOcean droplet for. And, of course, everybody knows by now that DigitalOcean's probably the top simple cloud hosting provider that can really get you going.
Without question.
We had somebody that spun up a droplet in, I think, he says 12 seconds.
Yeah, that's what the claim was.
That's what the claim was.
Yeah,
that's incredible if that's true. But most users are going to get going about 55 seconds. Pricing plans at $5 a month will get you 512 megabytes of RAM. And DigitalOcean's all SSDs, so you're going to get a 20 gigabyte SSD, one blazing fast CPU, and a terabyte of transfer that's connected to tier 1 bandwidth. DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, and Amsterdam and London. Brand new one in London. IPv6 up in there, private networking, all that good stuff. DigitalOcean also has a really straightforward API that lets you replicate their amazing control panel on a larger scale. This lets you script it. This lets you tie it into your existing management infrastructure like Puppet or Chef. This allows you to just have simple command line options to interface with your droplet to do backups or things like that to make it automated. Really nice. Really awesome. And on top of all of that, they're using awesome back-end technology like Docker and Doku to do one-click application deployments to your Linux box. LAMP stack, Ruby on Rails, GitLab. You can choose from Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, Fedora, or, like I mentioned, CoreOS. It's a really good way to get going with a Drupal site, too. They've got one-click installation for Drupal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Django, Node.js. So go over to DigitalOcean.com. Use the promo code last October or last September if you're just catching this a couple days after it aired. Check them out for a couple of months and see why both Matt and I have a few drops. See why I'm a droplet fiend.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm always starting them up and adjusting. I spend a lot of time just kind of tweaking and messing with it, and it's just a lot of fun.
It is. And the reliability has been top-notch, too. Absolutely great reliability. DigitalOcean.com last October when you check out. And a huge thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Linux Action Show.
Huge.
All right, Matt. So I want to talk to you about our first app pick. This would be something great to run on a DigitalOcean droplet, or really, I think the best place maybe even be your desktop. It's called FireJail, and it's pretty neat. It's a SUID security sandbox program that uses Linux namespaces, kind of like Docker does, to do process isolation. And one of the things it does on top of that is it uses your globally shared kernel, but then it has a private network, process table, and mount table,
wow.
so your file system is mounted read-only in a lot of key places, and in other areas you don't even get access at all. And you can sandbox just any type of process, servers, graphical application, even use an entire user login session. It's written in C with virtually no dependencies. You just have to have kernel 3. It runs on Debian, Ubuntu, Mint, OpenSUSE, Fedora, Arch. I mean, it all has packages for all of them. But anything with Linux 3, it will work. So again, it's called FireJail. And I'll tell you more about it. Yeah. It's ridiculously easy to use.
Oh, really?
Ridiculous.
Like just stupid simple.
So here we go. This is my desktop. In fact, let me go up in here, and do the bigger text so you guys can see that a little easier. So that is, here's my terminal. And you just type in FireJail. And then the command you want to run. I think it's fire. Why is that not high? FireJail. And then like Firefox.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know what? I didn't install it yet on this computer.
Oh, that would help, right?
I'll install it real quick.
Okay,
It is
that's
in
easy
the. It is in the.
So essentially, it's like compartmentalizing that particular. Like if you want to run Firefox, for example, it actually kind of pops it in its own little container. Okay.
And it's right in the Arch user repo. So I'll show you the installation process. Is really super crazy straightforward. So I can say yes to that. I'll go out and pull it down, and. Once you get it loaded, it's really just FireJail, and then you prefix the application you want to run with FireJail. Really easy peasy. So like for Firefox, for example, and I'll give you a little demo of it here in a sec. There we go. Okay, so now we have that loaded, and now watch when I start Firefox. And I'll show you the difference. So here's, maybe to start with, I'll show you Firefox not in the jail, just to kind of give you an idea. Okay.
Just to see the difference. Sure.
So here is my Firefox. It's awesome. It's not in a jail. And let's say I'm a bad guy and I got some bad intentions. I go maybe to my root file system here. And let's say, I'm going to go screw around in your boot, right, or something like that.
Right,
I can see the boot.
Yeah.
Who knows what the permissions are? But this is just like a high-level example. There's the boot system, the boot folder on my file system.
Something you don't want someone messing with, right?
Right. And now if I do FireJail and I say Firefox, now when it fires up, and if you look really closely too, you can see here that it's saying, it's giving you a little bit of information. It's reading it's reading a profile for that application, because you can have application-specific jail profiles. It's generating the private network stack for it, and then it initializes the process. So now we're in a isolated sandbox version of Firefox.
Interesting.
So if anything were to happen in Firefox, it would be contained to the sandbox. Any kind of malware, anything like that. So now, and just to kind of show you that, if I go back up to open, and I go to File System, and I go to Boot, now I see nothing.
Oh, that's really nice.
But I can still go to, like, say, my home directory, and I can see all the things in my home directory.
Sure.
Because it'll mount different areas of your file system as read-only, which is really cool. So it has shell support. It has extensive networking support, so you can do some fancy networking inside your sandboxes. It has private mode, where it'll erase all traces of anything you did while in that sandbox.
Oh, private mode.
Yeah, it's private mode for any application on your Linux box, any application. And the other thing you could think about this is you could also use the sandbox things like Samba or NTP or anything like that. It doesn't have to be Firefox. It can be any application on your Linux box. So it's pretty neat. It uses, again, namespace support, and some read-only mounting and some other fanciness. It's called FireJail, and the link is a little weird. It's l3net.wordpress.com/project/FireJail, but I'll just have a link in the show notes if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah. I think that sounds really cool, and it sounds like it's a really great entrance-level way of people wanting to protect themselves
and like
a little more.
It's like, hey, I kind of like some of the things about Docker, but I don't need to have. I want to have the isolation of Docker, but I don't need to have an entire in container of like an OS. And no, you just want to isolate that particular process, and that makes that possible.
Instead of driving the Ferrari, you're okay with the Vespa. That's okay. You're just trying to get to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You're not trying to like tour a town, right, and pick up women. I mean, come on. That's okay.
I don't know. Maybe FireJet would pick up. It
And
depends
maybe you
on the
could on a
woman.
Vespa.
It depends on the woman.
Depends on your accent.
Hey, before we get to our next pick, this is crazy. This is nuts. So Teespring has this functionality where if enough so we had I should back up. We had the Linux Action Show Fall Jacket.
Yes.
This was to raise funds to help cover our coverage of Ohio Linux Fest. And we met our goal and the campaign ended.
Oh, okay.
And thank you, everybody. Your jackets will be, they're probably printing now.
Yeah.
So then people kept ordering. Well, if you keep ordering, Teespring starts it back up again. They started it back up.
Oh, man.
And there is another 7 days now to get your jacket. So if the payroll situation didn't work out for you, they've sold, they only had to unlock 15. So 15 people asked for it after the campaign. And they reopened it. And so they've sold 45 now. And you have 7 days, 9 hours, teespring.com/jbjacket. If you want to get your Linux Action Show fall jacket, that's a zip-up hooded jacket with a nice, clean Linux Action Show, our brand new episode 300 logo on the breast pocket, nothing on the back. Keep it nice and clean and professional. And we have it available in dark blue, black, gray, and red, which...
That's cool.
Kind of want a red one.
Telling you.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
teespring.com/jbjacket. 7 days left. And that's what's crazy is so Angela's like, hey, did you know the jacket campaign opened up again? It's like, no.
You're like, what? Oh my gosh.
All right, so keeping it nerdy like FireJet, I found this awesome web access log visualization tool. Yeah, I'm saying
What?
It's an awesome web log visualization tool. It's called Logstalgia. I meant to mention it a long time ago. It's been on my list of mentions for a while. I was waiting for a real sysadmin heavy episode. So I thought, well, let's put in our gaming episode to offset all the gaming stuff.
Absolutely.
And I caught it on G Plus again this weekend. In fact, I saw this GIF on G Plus. This, if you're watching the video version, is what Logstalgia does. It analyzes your log files and then generates the most cool-looking visualization of packets hitting your web server on different ports and the resources those packets are accessing.
That is crazy.
It is the neatest thing ever. In fact, they have Logstalgia also has a little video here on their site.
Techno, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna put techno.
Let's go big on this one.
Right,
Matt.
right.
Check out how awesome this is. I know I'm really nerdy, but
But it's visually interesting. I mean, I can take something that's really dry and make it really interesting.
you can see the resources, the files it's accessing, right? /images, /photos, /stories.php. And they say you need about 1,000 hits an hour to get a kind of semi-interesting display. So, and I don't know how many hits this is, but look at that.
That's crazy.
I love the glow effect around the packets too.
Right.
And you can see the sources are Comcast.net, AOL.com. So this is probably an email server based on, it's just aglet.php.
And so the little bouncing around, I assume, is basically representing the firewall? I mean,
This is the most beautiful nerdy thing ever.
that is wild.
I wish... Yeah.
It looks like an intense game of Pong. It does.
Yeah, I thought about, boy, I should run this on the servers, but who has time? But if I had this thing set up, this would be, Matt and I were saying in the pre-show, what a great way to impress clients and
right.
stuff.
It's like, our network's secure. Yeah. Let's check that out.
Here's a visualization of what it looks like, the internet banging on your server. This is what it looks like. So what do you say we install those patches?
Exactly. Yeah, here's my card.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's Logstalgia. It's beautiful, and you can find it at code.google.com/Logstalgia. Obviously, link in the show notes. Or I'm sorry, code.google.com/p/Logstalgia.
P.
Probably for project. Pretty neat. Pretty damn neat.
That's cool.
And I was seeing some people brag about it on Google+. And even if you just have a lot of 404 errors, it could still give you something.
No kidding.
Logstalgia. All right, Matt.
Cool.
Let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense. Ting is my mobile service provider and Matt's mobile service provider. Matt's mobile service provider. Matt's mobile service provider right there. Boom. Chris's mobile service provider right here. Boom. Oh, yeah, I missed a call. You know what I'm liking? Android L.
Yeah,
I was all ready not to like it, and now I like it.
Like that whole battery thing, huh?
Yes, dude. Last.ting.com. That's where you want to go. Las.ting.com. Not only does that let Ting know that you appreciate them supporting our show, it's kind of like you voting, putting your check in that box, as it were. But it's also a great way to get $25 off your first Ting device. If you got a Ting-compatible device, well, then they'll give you a $25 credit. Now, why would you want to switch to Ting? My friend, it is so obvious once you start to think about it, because what you're doing right now is you are paying for this bulk set of minutes and data and text that you may or may not use. And when you don't use them, then it's a waste of your money. And when you do overuse them, it's a ridiculous overage charge. Well, here's how, just right there, Ting changes that up. They just take your minutes, they just take your messages, and your megabytes. That's all you pay. Whatever bucket, like whatever your usage, whatever bucket you fall into, that's it. Plus, it's a flat $6 for the line. So it's $6, and if you never made a single phone call, that's all you would pay is $6.
Boom.
And then that includes hotspot, that includes tethering. It's just part of your data usage. Every feature you'd expect from a mobile service provider, Ting has it, and they have it better than everybody else. They have an awesome to use dashboard that is super easy to use. I've got 3 lines managing 3 phones. You'd think would be a pain in the butt. It is crazy great, and they all have a really nice heads-up display to give you all the information you need, and it's tied in with great apps on Android or iOS. In fact, if you've been curious about Ting, a little Ting curious, are you? I understand. I would be too. Go over there to last.ting.com and click their savings calculator. Plug in your actual usage. Your actual usage from your current provider, not what you pay for, not what they're scamming out of you, but what you actually pay for, or what you actually use. And then Ting will say this is what you'd actually have to pay for. So, for example, for me, it's about $2,200 over 2 years. For some folks, it's as much as $3,000. For some folks, it's less. What I love, though, is there's ways to make it all work. You can kind of stack all of this. Ting's constantly giving out tips to save on your mobile data or on your voice usage. Always about saving you money. They also have referral programs where if you recommend somebody to Ting, they'll give you a great credit. Mail Hauler in our chat room. He's been a Ting customer for a while now. He switched after seeing some of the ads on our shows. He had got his whole family on Ting. And he's a truck driver. He's driving around all the time. His Ting bill for his entire family for this month, $3.59, because he took advantage of Ting's referral program. And when he referred somebody, he got a great credit.
Nice.
I've got 3 lines. I'm paying like $40 a month right now.
And being a truck driver, you got to figure he's using that phone.
I would think so, especially the data and the calling, I would think. We love doing our app picks, and Ting is really dialed into some of the best apps on Android. I was doing the app pick thing for a while, and there's no beating Kyra.
Nope.
No beating Kyra. So she's got a great app pick for us this week, Matt. So let's check
On
it
a quest for
out.
the one calendar app to rule them all, I'm Kyra, and this is Ting's App of the Week.
Okay.
Sunrise Calendar is beautifully designed and supports all types of calendars, including iCloud, Google, or Exchange. With social integration, offline access, and browser support, Sunrise offers the ultimate calendar experience. Add accounts for all your calendars and import scheduled content from Asana, Evernote, Facebook, and more. The homepage cleanly displays 2 rows of dates and lists your scheduled events directly below.
Getting that.
Scroll through dates to see an expanded monthly view.
Sunrise
Scroll
calendar.
down to view upcoming events and
that's
see further
way
info.
better than what it was.
Yeah.
Tap the red arrow to get back to today's date. Tap the triple line to check your 3-day week view.
All right.
This gives you a quick look at your schedule over the next few days. The mail icon is where you receive your event invitations. Short swipe right to attend, short swipe left to decline. It also has a scrollable widget that lets you add events directly from your home screen. Sunrise Calendar is completely free and is definitely worth a download. Grab it on iOS or Android right now. Both links are in the description below. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for more app reviews, and thanks for watching.
Thank you, Kyra.
Very, very cool.
That's a great one. I'm grabbing that Sunrise Calendar. Last.ting.com to check them out. Go over there. Also on the Ting blog, they're doing an unboxing of the new LG G3 and a giveaway. Yeah, this thing shoots 4K videos.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a great phone to be giving away, and it's just, I
gotta still wonder what the whole status on 4K is, because there's certain specific industries that when they adopt a media format that they, that kind of push that forward. So I think once we see that happen,
Oh, look at that G3.
Oh,
That's
my
a
gosh.
thin looking. Look at that. Look how thin
that's
that is.
crazy.
Oh wow, that is nice. All right, so you can go to the go to last.ting.com and check out their blog if you'd like to get in on that G3 giveaway and watch the unboxing. Last.ting.com.
Nice.
Thanks,
Nice,
Ting,
nice,
for
nice.
sponsoring the Linux Action Show.
Definitely.
So Matt, last week we talked a lot about the shell shock vulnerability. In fact, we dedicated most of the show to it. This week, I hinted even. I was like, hey, there's a rumor there's this Zen thing going on. Well, it turns out, there was a big Zen thing going on. In fact, it's being called the vulnerability that rebooted the public cloud. How do you like that?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, because it wasn't drama enough before,
Right. It's Amazon, Rackspace, and IBM SoftLayer. That's why they say the public cloud, because all all of those had to restart their servers in a rushed manner where they couldn't give their customers appropriate notice. In fact, Rackspace later issued an apology to their customers because of the rushed nature of it. So here's the details. They all had to reboot their servers in the last several days to fix a flaw in Zen, that's the virtualizer that's built into the Linux kernel, that was privately reported to them 2 weeks ago by the Zen project on October 1st, it says, but that doesn't sound right. The flaw in question is detailed in Zen Security Advisory XSA 108 and is also identified in CVE 2014-7188. Here's essentially what you get. It's an improper MSR range reading. So to break that down even simpler, virtual machines potentially had the capability of reading the memory of other virtual machines on the same Zen server. They say the impact could also potentially crash the underlying host server and read data from the other machines. So the problem for the public cloud providers was that once this flaw became known, then people could use it to potentially read the data on another EC2 instance or something like that.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. I mean, that's just so unfortunate.
So Amazon and Rackspace all got this heads up. So here's kind of how that works. The genesis of this flaw, it's kind of a big deal that had people really scrambling. The flaw was first reported 2 weeks ago by the Zen project, or to the Zen project, I'm sorry, by SUSE Linux employee Jan Bellick. Okay. So in contrast with Heartbleed, where the vulnerability was in April, and shell shock that was first reported on the 24th of September, the Zen project was able to keep details of the flaw private until the major cloud providers had patched, although rumors were starting to circulate.
Right, but it hadn't been confirmed.
I had seen some stuff before we went on air with last, and I didn't run with it because there was all rumors at the time, and now we know what's up. The Zen project, as you may or may not be aware, is run by the Linux Foundation since 2013. And they've had a detailed security response process in place since 2011. They've iterated, and in this response process, they say up front that even though we're an open source project, we're going to tell major players that are using Zen before everybody else. They feel like this will help minimize the degree to which there are Zen users who are vulnerable but can't get patches.
I'm okay with that as long as it's being addressed. I think that's the main thing. And it seems like it is, and it's being addressed in a timely manner.
Right.
And that's fine, because you're not actually hurting anybody at that point.
So we have we have some pretty big stuff going down in open source. I don't need to recap it. We all know what's just happened in the last 6 months with open source security. And I was trying to think about what's the impact of this going to be on the reputation of Linux and the reputation of open source. I think part of it is it's so fundamental, base level to just Zen is so widely used by EC2 and on Rackspace because it is a free open platform that has some commercial backing. And that's just something you can't get around. It doesn't matter what Hyper-V can do from Windows or what VMware ESX can do. They're not free and open.
They're not. Marketing types will spin this.
I think so.
So you have that facet of it. And then from the technical side of it, I think this is also an indication that we're going to be seeing more of this on a more regular basis.
I worry that it's going to push people away from wanting to build their own Linux servers. That it's going to push more people into EC2 and Rackspace and sort of try to abstract the danger from themselves and insulate themselves from the hard-to-manage, tumultuous security environment.
It could, but it could also push people into actually hiring firms to take care of this for them. And that would be fine. It's like we want that technology, but we don't want to be the ones to deal with that. So we're going to hire, XYZ Inc. to take care of this stuff for us, and then everybody wins. I think that's from a practical point of view, it's probably what will end up happening.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't.
I could be wrong.
What I don't understand about the dialogue that's occurring now that I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot in emails coming into our shows, but also just in opinion pieces on blogs and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of people say well, this is finally popping the fallacy that open source is more secure, that all eyes make all bugs more shallow, and this is finally busting that myth. And first of all, I don't know why we prop up these imaginary tent poles in which we all must measure what is winning or not winning by. But secondly, what seems so disconnected from reality is if you are a system administrator that is managing a server that has hundreds of thousands of users, that is extremely public, it almost doesn't matter how many vulnerabilities are found. It matters more how fast those vulnerabilities are corrected once they're known about.
Exactly.
And the delta, the advantage that open source has there compared to something like Windows or Java from Oracle, these things have huge patch windows. Oftentimes, we don't even know about them. Sometimes they even inform nation states about those vulnerabilities before they tell the public. And so when I look at things like shell shock and this Zen vulnerability and even the Heartbleed vulnerability, the immediate response afterwards, because what happens, because the code is available to everyone, is that we essentially are crowdsourcing the fix. Immediately, everybody's looking at shell shock. Everybody's looking at the source of bash. And by everybody, obviously I'm speaking generically, but
Of course.
eyes across the world. And not just a department in Microsoft where there's 30 guys and gals that sit there and review code and then respond up to management about the security incident, but developers from all different kinds of backgrounds all over the world working together simultaneously, even unintentionally, to fix this problem for everyone at once. And that is such a real-world, true benefit to open source that is yet somehow intangible for these arguments. Like, it cannot be put into some sort of soundbite that is like this quick recap, because what people quote are like, well, look at all these vulnerabilities for open source software versus the vulnerabilities for Windows this year. It's so out of whack. And it's not a one-to-one metric. It's
not. I will tell you that I'm not going to even remotely hint at who, but there are specific online publications out there that absolutely their part of their byline is to cater their articles toward their advertisers, and a lot of their advertisers are in fact proprietary software vendors.
True.
So
That's very true.
A lot of times you will take that spin. Now there are some people that truly believe what they're writing, and I'm not saying they don't, but that's encouraged.
The other thing is just the whole ecosystem around it too. Anyways, my point is let's maybe, since we are more kind of, we're discussing it more at these terms. Maybe when we see the conversations go on in the public, we can engage. I don't know. I don't know what the right course is here. But what I worry the long term is not that Linux and open source won't get used, but that it'll become too dangerous for average folk, and that we'll all have to go to some proprietary master who has this turnkey solution for us.
Usually, the market dictates a solution. So, for example, you take anything that has moving parts. Usually, there's a service guy that handles that.
Right.
And I think the same thing with whether it be proprietary software or open source software or whatever. Usually there's a service person or someone that is there to basically facilitate a solution for you before an incident happens or after an incident happens.
And that's why I think there is I'm not trying to disparage Rackspace or EC2 or anything like that, because not only have I used those services, but there's a clear purpose for those services, and have at it. Like, if that's what fits your needs, that's great. I just I don't want it to become taboo for people I don't want it to be too dangerous to build your own Linux box.
Exactly.
But I do think distributions like CoreOS are solving this exact problem, right? Because what CoreOS is trying to do is make it much safer to patch your Linux server. I mean, they're doing a lot of things, but one of the things they're doing, one of fundamental differences they're doing, is they're recognizing that in Linux, code changes a lot. And you need to be able to implement those changes if you want to keep secure. And so that's what CoreOS is helping address. And that's why I'm really excited about distributions like CoreOS. And I think the next time Fedora comes on, or Red Hat, or whoever comes on that's building an enterprise distro, I want to say, what are you doing to make your distribution more like CoreOS? Not are you going to become CoreOS, but what are you looking at CoreOS, and what are you going to adopt to solve this problem, to head this thing off before it becomes a big issue? And I think CoreOS is one of the distros doing it. And I think others should take some examples from there.
I agree. And I think worst case down the road, they'll probably be plugged into some of these other services. I think, I feel like that when these problems arrive, a lot of times there's a solution already in the works that then gets the spotlight shown on them, and then they're able to grow from that. That's cool.
I think it's one of the reasons why my attitude towards Fedora has become more positive, is because I look at the Fedora Next. You have the Fedora Cloud Spin or Ring they're going to have, and their embracement of Docker, and not pushing it away as a competing product to Zen or KVM, but seeing it as something they can incorporate. That's all good signs to me. So I'm overall I'm positive. I just want to make sure it keeps going in that direction. Also, I want to recommend you check out TechSnap 182. Zen Gets Bashed. Alan came back from his trip, and he was over at EuroBSDCon while some of the BSD security folks were there responding to not just the shell shock stuff, but some other things that came up while he was there, including Zen. And we have a great analysis of how you could chain the shell shock vulnerability to get access to a Zen hypervisor server, and then use the Zen vulnerability to compromise the actual box you want. So it's a really good theoretical, how some of these more recent vulnerabilities that have come out could be chained together, and would be chained together to really get you the honey that you want. Really get there. And that was a great episode. It was a huge monster. Definitely. It was 2.5 hour episode of TechSnap, but it's a deep dive into this stuff if you want to check it out. 182 that came out on last Thursday. Okay, Matt.
Good stuff.
So, a lot of times we're not pro fork, or sometimes we're like, that's not a good idea, and sometimes we think it's a great idea. I want to get your take on this one. A team in India, a company in India, a group of developers down there are redesigning the Linux kernel with object-oriented programming and C++ support. Now, hold on. It's more than that, too. They're also going to try to design a stable driver ABI so that way driver manufacturers would have an ABI to write against for their drivers. It's called BOSSMOL, I think is how you say it, BOSSMOOL, an effort to redesign the Linux kernel by adding object-oriented abstractions, introducing a stable driver framework with C++ driver support, and other changes. And it's coming out of DOS Labs. They're down in India. Their whole goal here is to redesign the Linux kernel and make it a minimalistic object-oriented Linux, as they're calling it. The project explains that MOOL aims to redesign the Linux kernel to reduce coupling and increase maintainability by adding object-oriented abstractions. Excessive coupling, they say, prevails in the Linux kernel. Studies have shown that common coupling is increasing in successive versions of Linux, and this will make maintainability of the Linux kernel difficult in the coming years. Dun, dun, dun.
So, other than minimalism, what is their real concern? Like, what is the end game concern that they have here?
Sounds like a stable driver model. So that way, like when you update the kernel, the drivers don't have to change. They don't have to rebuild any modules. It sounds like some abstracting things out, adding C++ support. It will require to use their own Debian-derived distribution. And some other changes that have been applied to it. What do you think, Matt? Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
I think trying something new and creative without being overly negative in it, I think is a great idea. So, I mean, if they're able to do this and maybe they do a horrible job and it just sucks and no one wants it, hey, that's fine. They learn some stuff and then they can try again later. Or perhaps they do this and it becomes this amazingly successful concept that works out really well for everybody.
Yeah.
I can't see a single thing wrong with it.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean it's for me, but
that's where I fall down too. So I did some digging into the group. It looks like this isn't going to be it. I think maybe I might be wrong on this, but I think maybe their project currently is based off kernel 2.6 code.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah. But again, if they're using it as a skeleton proof of concept kind of beta thing, whatever.
It did get me thinking though. We have a serious monoculture problem when it comes to Linux kernel. We
really do.
There's like the different maintainers. Like there's the Linux CK kernel that I have upstairs, but it's the Linux kernel, right? It is the Linux.
It's almost like Linux plus.
Right. So we could use a little competition here to keep things tight, keep things lean, maybe keep things interesting. And so I'm not totally opposed to this. I think forking at the Linux kernel is an interesting idea. And there's Herd, right? There's other things. There's other things out there already. This one's getting some traction, and one thing I like is this idea, and I don't know how they could do this with the GPL, but the one thing I like is this stable driver interface. And I'm not totally sure the way Linux does it now is actually that bad. There's some logic in, especially when you have things like DKMS, just rebuilding the module when you update the kernel and not having to worry about a stable interface.
I think it's hit and miss because I think in some instances, and I know this from networking especially when it comes to wireless and just various NIC interfaces, it doesn't always work out as planned. You go to rebuild it, and everything's great, and it's like, oh look, I have a new bug that I didn't have previously.
Look, most of the chat room, Matt, there is not so hot on the fact that it's just they're using C++.
Oh, I'm not either, and and that's fine. But again, it's the bigger picture. Let's say they do this, it's just this big flaming turd on in a bag, and the Linux Foundation looks at this and says, oh, hey, we're inspired to try something different. Cool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like, because this isn't it. But I think this might be something that is needed.
I think the C++ thing is a horrible idea. But, again, I think the bigger picture of trying something new, trying something exciting, just, living on the edge a little bit. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so last week, this is one of the reasons we're going to talk about games is we've had some heavy episodes. We've had the shell shock stuff, and then we had the Ubuntu 14.10 stuff, and all this heavy stuff. Well, one of the things that I kind of had a toss throwaway comment, like I can remember, I think it was last week. I don't know, it's been so long now, where I said I wish that Ubuntu 14.10 had the latest GNOME. And the reason I was thinking that is, well, if you're not going to iterate on Unity, it would at least be great if I could at least install a modern GNOME desktop.
True.
If I want to stick with GTK and stuff. And it's not possible right now because the project's release schedules have just drifted apart and, it's not a priority for either one. Well, it sounds like Ubuntu GNOME devs have been encouraged by the Ubuntu team to try to make this work in future versions of Ubuntu. Now, it's too late for 14.10. But when the Ubuntu desktop was more closely based on GNOME and there was greater alignment between the two projects, they had careful synchronization between the release schedules of GNOME and Ubuntu to make sure the latest GNOME would be included with Ubuntu. This is according to Steve Langesk, the Ubuntu and Debian developer, and also Popey echoed the same statement on Unplugged, and it makes a lot of sense. So Steve was saying, I think it's too late to revisit such a decision for 14.10 without significant downside to the quality of the GNOME that would be included. But for 15.04, I recommend that you explicitly consider at the beginning of the release cycle whether you would like to release with the latest version of GNOME. This is this is good because it's coming from within the Ubuntu project. Yep. No, this is just like, hey, we should do this.
Right. A brainstorming of sorts.
But I would like to throw my voice in and say for 15.04, it would be if. Right now, there's an article that was posted that we didn't include in the show that says that GNOME 3.14 is winning anti-GNOME people back. I don't know if you saw that this weekend.
I have, and I...
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It depends on your interpretation.
That's why I didn't include it. But I think I do kind of agree with the broader premise that we had that Linux subreddit survey that clearly showed that GNOME was the preferred desktop.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard a lot from our audience that have tried it out. It just seems like, it took time, but it's getting to where people like it. Some people say they liked it all along. I definitely didn't. I definitely did not like GNOME when it first came out at version 3. I did not like it.
Well, see, and I liked classic GNOME, Métis type experience. Yeah. GNOME 3 made me want to put my head through glass. Right. Then after I got done putting my head through glass in KDE, that was horrible. My experience was horrible. And then I came back to GNOME and then XFC on another box, which I've kind of, I tend to bounce around, but GNOME is still, it's been a, constant in my office.
For me, there is literally no other desktop environment that I prefer on any other platform. When I'm on a Mac, I miss GNOME. When I'm on Windows, I desperately miss GNOME. And when I'm on a Linux box, I want to use GNOME. I got a Chromebook, I want to use GNOME. I don't want to use a lightweight desktop, I want to use GNOME. I love it. Because I spent a month, I know I've said this a lot, but I spent a month every day training myself a way to do something the GNOME way. And that month has paid off for me since then every single day. And I work around it, I move around it so fast, I know where everything is at now. And for me, if 15.04 shipped with the latest version of GNOME, it would be a serious contender for me. And that's just like Fedora is becoming a serious contender for me because it's shipping with the latest GNOME. It's becoming, and I don't know, maybe...
I think it's also how you use your desktop. I could literally be running on... I don't even care. As long as I have a launcher, because, everything I do is from a launcher and then from the panel. Outside of that, I have no interaction at all with the desktop.
I have nothing I have nothing to base this off of other than just the length I've been doing this show, but I swear... The desktops that I like before everybody else, eventually, it seems like a lot of times I start to like something when it's kind of in the early stages and when I can see they're kind of going somewhere, and they get there and it becomes really... I don't know, maybe not, but to me, I feel like that's happening with GNOME. I feel like I was starting to like it, and now it seems to be building in popularity as they each release. It really started with 3.10, and then 3.12, and now 3.14. Each release, I feel like that narrative has been changing more and more, and I feel like I've been seeing it more. I just think it'd be huge if Ubuntu got back into that, especially while they're transitioning over to Unity 8, where they're going to be, introducing some new applications, some new UI designs, Qt and QML. Wouldn't it be great for those of us who don't want to have to switch to a different distro, or, those of us who want to switch back, to have that as an option?
Exactly, without having to PPA it and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, I know. I should just stop caring so much. It works great on Arch.
Well, and I definitely think there's a workflow that is appealing to you. I think that it's catering to the way you do things, and for me, and literally, I could literally have GNOME with the foot menu. I don't care as long as I have a launcher. That's just my thing. It's like give me a sane file manager, a terminal, and a modern browser, and I don't give a rip. That's kind of where I live.
And the chat room says I should, you never know. Plasma 5, they say maybe I'll love that. You could. Very well could.
Very possibly. Yeah. Again.
And that you can get that in Kubuntu.
And back-endy stuff is for me. So like the sound issues I've had with KDE, that until that's actually resolved and Phone On has been sent along with Buck Rogers into space somewhere, it's
kind of a non-starter.
I know.
All right, let's talk about something cool that played a huge part in my career and deploying Linux. That's Cups, believe it or not, the Common Unix printing system. It turned 15 years old on October 1st, and version 2. After 15 years.
Wow.
Was released.
It takes a little while, but it's okay.
So Cups 2.0 has greater security around its scheduler, some OS X specific improvements. It is owned by Apple. And systemd support, as well as TLS certificate validation and policy enforcements. All the Linux man pages have been updated. It dropped OpenSSL in favor of GNU TLS, and they dropped support for AIX and HPUX. I really had nothing more to mention other than I think Cups is one of these underappreciated advancements that Linux got. I don't know if you guys remember a time when we used LPD to print under Linux distributions.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That was horrible. And Cups wasn't like a small improvement. Cups was an entirely new approach to printing with network discovery and internet printing support and all of this stuff that was unbelievable. And so I worked at this bank, and we had individual terminal servers for every branch because of the way this Windows software that used an Access database had to work. Each branch had to be on their own individual terminal server. And so, because of how much printing the banks do, the way it worked out is then each branch had its own individual Windows 2000 print server. It started as NT4. NT4's print spooler crashed so much that I had an automated job just to restart the spooler every few hours.
Yeah.
So Windows 2000 was a little better, but it was still a 1-to-1. So I think at around this time, it was 35 or 40 terminal servers and then 35 or 40 Windows print servers.
Yeah,
it was
and
nuts.
in Windows 2000 Pro, I mean,
Server,
it was
server.
Yeah, I mean,
was
it's one of those
awful.
things to where it was
So
depends what you're using it for.
I was playing around with Linux at this time. We'd implemented some Samba servers, some Squid servers. It was really working well. And I said, well, let's try this Cups thing out. It's new. It has support for all of our printers.
Yeah, why not? Right?
And the other thing it let me do is then in Samba, I could install a generic printer driver on the terminal server. So all users had the same printer driver. And then the Cups server was smart enough to know what printer it was talking to. And all I had to do was manage the driver on the Cups server. And so I went from 35 or 40 Windows print servers down to one single Cups server, and it printed faster than the Windows machines did.
Right.
I didn't have to fight with drivers anymore and in terminal services. And if any of you have ever done that, you know what a pain in the butt that is, because your users are not administrators, but in Windows they had to be administrators to install drivers, and it was just a nightmare. Cups took this system that was so complicated and spinning so far out of control. And really, it was like I went to management and I said, we just took that stack of 40 boxes and replaced it with that one box, and we never restart it. And we never have to fight with drivers anymore. And it has also saved us untold support calls every month.
Right.
And it was this watershed moment for Linux at where we were at, where from then on it was Linux first whenever possible. And you wouldn't think something like Cups would do that, but it was because of Cups that really it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and boom, management was on board because it was literally a savings just not running those 40 servers for a month. Save them a ton of money,
that's
right?
big money. That's big money.
It was huge. And it was a real moment for me, too, where I really recognized some of the performance and scalability differences between Windows and Linux, too. I was blown away because what I did is I told them we needed 2 servers. So we bought 2 servers, and I set it all up on one server and got it going.
Right.
And then it just worked flawlessly. Yeah. So then we just set up the second server as a backup.
Well, there you go.
And it worked fine, yeah.
That works.
All right. So anyways, a little nostalgia. Just never really have a chance to talk about Cups on the Linux Action Show. Now we have.
Yeah, it's like for me to this day, it's like doing anything with printing or scanning in Windows is just I can't even.
Feels like you're going back in time.
It's like let me drop this disk in and then I'll just go and have lunch.
I don't know how
I'll come back.
I don't know how they expect end users to do it. And Cups
horrible.
is so, and tip of the hat to Apple too for not screwing over Linux users.
That's right.
All right, so now transitioning into gaming. GamingOnLinux.com has been running survey results or published survey results for surveys they're starting to do, kind of along the lines of the Steam Hardware survey. I'll have a link in the show notes if you guys want to read through all of it. They had about 670 people to participate. And I just want to cover a couple of the results. And of course, you have to kind of take some of this with some consideration of the size of the scope, but it could be representative. So the first question, do you use Linux as your primary gaming platform? 63% said yes, 12% said no. Here's the stat that I thought was interesting, though. They asked what are you a distribution hopper? So 2 questions. What's your main distribution? 58.9% said a Debian-based, which includes Ubuntu.
That makes sense.
1% said Slackware. 3% said Red Hat-based, which includes Fedora. 3% also, 3.8%, slightly more than Fedora, said SUSE-based. And then 25.45% said Arch-based, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. And then they asked, are you a distro hopper? I actually expected these numbers to be reversed. 13% said yes, 80% said No.
That makes sense. And here's
does
why.
make sense,
You know,
yeah.
because like on my gaming box, this is a great example. I want to leave it the hell alone. I want to patch it occasionally to keep it from having security flaws, and then I want it to be left the hell alone.
Yeah.
So that's not a box that I'm going to be hopping around on.
It's an appliance in
Yes,
some ways.
exactly. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, and I think so. You see, they had a second thing here. Yes, I distro hop, but not for gaming 6%.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would change depending on the size of the because
I think so. Well, target audience and all that.
Of course, maybe some people are not like us, where they have like, here's my play computer, and here's my work computer, and this is my work computer, and this is also my play computer, and this could be.
Yeah, that could be that. That could be it too. It could be single use.
All right. Well, we just got our appetites just a little bit started for sim gaming.
A little bit.
There's a lot more to jump into, like, including getting the most out of Steam and all of that stuff. So, what do you say, Matt? Should we wrap up the news? I think it's everything we're going to cover.
Yeah, I think pretty much that about does it.
All right, Matt. Then that's all the news for this week. We're going to tell you about the top 5 games for Linux. These are great games. I think you're going to want every single one of them, and a lot of them just came out this fall. Before we get to that, I want to thank our segment sponsor, System 76. Woohoo! Creators of machines that run Linux flawlessly. And this is important when you just want to sit down and game. Like the Gazelle Professional, high-definition bliss. System 76 has machines for the gamer, for the casual user, and just for the business person, as well as desktops built right here in the United States of America. Yeah. I love the systems. You know, in fact, I was just thinking about what I would do when it came time to replace the Bonobes, if I would go with a desktop or a laptop. And you know me, man.
It's going to be Leopard.
I've wanted that Leopard Extreme for a long time, and I'm looking at Christmas and I'm thinking, you know, Chris, you've been a good boy this year.
You're sitting on Santa's lap going, I want a liquid-cooled experience.
Yeah, liquid-cooled, built right here in the U.S. of A. by System 76. This is a high-end production system. You're doing gaming, but for me, too, for production work, you know, I can get it with the 10,000 RPM drives or SSD drives right there in the hot swap chassis. They've got nice fans in there, so you've got the big fan so it cools but doesn't make a bunch of noise. And the build quality. Quality. I mean, this is an example of, like, you know, a lot of times you're like, oh, I could build a PC. You can't build a PC like this. Not unless you've been doing it for 20 years.
And we had a previous generation Leopard Extreme in the studio at one point, and it's like everything was done properly. Perfect. And even being able to access the liquid cooling was awesome. I mean, it was great.
So I'm thinking maybe towards the end of the year, possibly I might go that route. But, you know, they've got a bunch of great laptops, too. All the games we'll be showing today will be showcased on my Bonobo Extreme. And this, I think mine's like one or two editions behind, but it still rocks so hard I've never needed to replace it. But that really, at the end of the day, the best part with System 76 is you get that support. So if you're a Linux user, don't you want your money to go towards a company that works with Linux, works with the Ubuntu project, and extends Linux on the desktop? And don't you want to know that your money is voting for support of Linux? And don't you want support for that, especially if you're giving it out to family, you're using it in your business or at a school? Well, that's where System 76 comes in. So go over to System 76, get yourself something nice, stop fighting with your hardware, play with your Linux, and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you.
Nice.
Okay, Matt. So I got my notes here.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about games first.
All right.
But before we get into the games, I want to give you guys an update on a lot of cool stuff that's come to Steam and how you can get more out of Steam and make it work even better for you. Because I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of time, so I don't really get into the Steam community aspect of it. That's not where my head's at.
Right.
But there's still a way to take advantage of the Steam community to find great new games. It's something that Valve has just rolled out for Steam. It's called Steam Curators.
Oh.
This is, it's kind of what you'd expect, right? These are, and I've searched for Linux specifically here, and I have that linked in the show notes, but these are people that are voted on. You can see this, like this person has 262,000 followers, right? A lot of different, and these people are recommending games. They're curating games for you. So if you're not sure what games to get, they're curating them. Well, this is neat, but how can we as Linux users leverage this? Well, it turns out there's a few Steam curators that focus just on Linux that I want to recommend to you. And you follow these folks, and what they're doing is they're finding games that work great under Linux that are fun to play. So the two I want to recommend, first on is Gaming on Linux, gamingonlinux.com. We've talked to them before on Linux Unplugged. And they're going through, and they're picking games, and they're giving you commentary. Like, I like the commentary on Borderlands, too. Do you really need a reason? It's awesome. But, here, like Hand of Fate. It's a little rough right now due to it still being in early development, but the gameplay is actually rather interesting. So you can take that commentary.
That's really helpful.
Right? And, people can up that commentary, upvote it. So what you're getting here is sometimes a couple of the games can be a little hit and miss under Linux, right? In fact, this week, Matt, kind of a huge deal. 700 games officially available now for Linux under Steam. 700 games now available for Linux under Steam as of this week.
You know, if only
milestone.
Linux could be a gaming operating system, that would be so cool.
So now we have the opposite problem that we used to have. Now there's too many games.
Right.
There's too many games to pick from. So that's where the curators
this
come
is great
in, right?
because I get lost. I get into Steam. You know, I'm just like, oh my god, I try and go by popularity or price, or I just
yeah, and it's hit and miss because some of them, some of them are just not that great. That's what happens.
I've run into a few.
So Gaming on Linux is a great curator you can follow. The other one I want to recommend is that Linux Gamecast Weekly is doing curations. They'll usually, after they've reviewed a game, they'll put it in here, and they'll also give you their quick review. Like here is Shadowrun Dragonfall, one of the games that almost made my cut today.
Exactly.
They say it's the Dragonfall campaign, only standalone. Can't really argue with the price either. You know, little commentary like that. Sometimes they'll mention Necro was another game that almost made the cut, but my son Dylan vetoed it. So
really? Okay.
In today's episode, we're only talking about the best games for Linux. And so if it didn't make the cut, it didn't make the cut. Necro was one of them. Here's their commentary on Necro. This is how you do early access, because sometimes early access can be hit and miss.
Oh, boy.
Also, they say it's a Unity game that you wouldn't know it was a Unity game if it wasn't for the grass. I like the Linux Gamecast style here.
Well, I like their style in that not only are they approaching it hardcore from a Linux perspective, I mean, they're actually addressing the fact that, oh, hey, by the way, this is developed by a Unity situation, and this is what to expect.
Yes,
this is the downfalls.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're educated.
It's helping a Linux educated crowd make a pick for a good Linux game. So when you follow these curators, you know you're going to have a pretty good chance of getting a good experience.
Right.
So I have them linked in the show notes.
Awesome.
Linux Gamecast Weekly also will be doing a review of Borderlands 2, which will probably be out in a couple hours from our recording of right now. So you can check that out if you're curious to go more into it. We're going to talk about Borderlands 2 as well. So that is the curators. New to Steam, very cool. Another new feature to Steam. Hey Matt, how would you like another MP3 player? Because Steam's got one now. Yeah, it's called Steam Music Player.
Wow.
It's kind of neat because they're giving away some soundtracks for games right now too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how it works. So this is it. This is the library right here. It scans your music folder wherever you point it at, and it's found all of my MP3s, and I have the little simple music player. I can play Ronald Jenkins.
Oh, yeah, right.
Where this comes in at is if you're in game and you have independent volume control, so you can have your game music or your game audio going.
God, that's fantastic.
Now, I'm not a big fan of the Steam overlay in games, but in any Steam game, when you hold down Shift Tab, it'll bring up the Steam overlay.
Right.
And now you can control your music from the Steam overlay. And I do particularly like to listen to my own music while I game. I find like I game better if I can get into a groove.
I did too. And in previous things, like back in my Windows days, I may used to toss Soldier of Fortune 2. You could actually plop your own MP3s in there.
Yeah.
I did that.
That was awesome.
That was really cool. Same thing with some of the GTA games. You could actually do the same thing. So being able to do this nice and easy, much easier.
Yeah, so you just
really
do
cool.
Shift Tab and you can control your music right there. It's kind of neat. And you know what? I've tried it. It works for podcasts too.
Oh,
yeah. So you just throw the podcast in the music directory in a folder. I just called it podcast. And as long as they're tagged correctly.
So you could be playing Borderlands 2 listening to like TechSnap, right? I mean, how wild would that be? That would be friggin' hilarious.
So that's the Steam.
That's cool.
That's the Steam Music Player, and I don't think you even have to be in beta to get it. I think they've rolled it out to everybody right now.
I like it.
And then last but not least, multiplayer in Steam has really gotten good. It makes the multiplayer experience. We're going to talk about it coming up with Borderlands 2. Super smooth. And it is a really fun experience. It is not the frustrating, like, find a server, it is not like that anymore.
I hated that back in the day.
And one way you can make it even better. I want you to go join the Jupiter Broadcasting Group on Steam. We've had this since July 23rd, 2010.
Yeah, and I've been a member of it for a while. Every once in a while, I still get some people in there. I'm the iron spanking guy.
Nice. I don't give it enough mentions. But I think we now that we've got 700 freaking games for Linux, maybe it's time to start talking about.
I think
this
so.
more.
Well, and it would also enable us to begin working together in actually co-op games and things like that.
Especially with some great co-op games that come out. So that's steamcommunity.com/groups/Jupiter Broadcasting, or you probably just search for Jupiter Broadcasting Group.
Definitely.
And we've got a lot of great folks in there, and I'm in there too. And so if we do game stuff, we can coordinate through this. And I don't check it too often, so it's not like a great way to reach me.
No, it's a horrible way to reach me. So is chat, by the way. If you guys have been pinging me on the
Steam
chat
chat's
thing,
not so great either.
I generally keep it off just because I get too many
I
things
do
about it.
I if somebody catches me, I generally try to be nice and respond. But
Absolutely.
If I stay online too long, it kind of gets nuts.
Well, every once in a while, someone will do something off my wish list. You guys will always get an email. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But it's hard for me to get into the chat thing.
Yeah.
So,
and last but not least, just kind of getting the most out of Steam. If you've got a Chromebook or a laptop, desktop, why not play that AAA first-person shooter on it if you've got a higher-end desktop? Because now Linux to Linux streaming is working from Steam. This has been working for a little bit, but we haven't noted it in the show. And you've always been able, well, not always, but for a long time, been able to stream from a Windows PC to your Linux box. Yeah, I don't have a Windows PC.
Right.
So, and for a little while, I kept a Windows PC around so I could play Arkham Asylum. And then I was just like, you know what? I don't want to run Windows at all
would be
anywhere.
wild.
So now you can do Steam to Steam. So the benefit would be like, you got a really high-end gaming PC, and then you got a laptop maybe with like an Intel 4600.
Okay.
You could easily stream from your nice high-end gaming PC to the laptop and play out in the living room.
Wonder if you could stream to an Atom. I doubt it. I'm sure.
No, you could.
Could you seriously?
If it can do H.264 accelerated decoding.
It can. It's a little bumpy around.
I have done it on a Chromebook, and that was an Atom.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It just depends on the one thing you have to match up.
The source computer's not the problem at all.
The one thing that might make it go easier for you is if you set the source computer screen resolution to the same screen resolution as the lower end Atom.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So you're sending less because that way you won't have to do the scaling.
You might just go 800 by 600 just for the sake, just to play around.
And wired you'll have a better result. They are working on the Wi-Fi stuff. So
right. That makes sense.
That's how you can start getting more out of Steam right now. And
I've got some mesh action going on at the house. I mean, I might be able to kind of get away with the wireless. I don't know. It's kind of some dedicated stuff.
All right, I want to get into our top 5 games.
Okay.
I'm very excited about these games. It's kind of re-inspired my son and I to start playing. We kind of drifted away from games for a while. I guess over the summer, we're just doing more activities. But now the fall's coming.
Yep. Inside more.
It is awesome. So the first one I want to start with is perfect for the October Halloween season. It's called Nightmares from the Deep: The Cursed Heart, and it is it's one of these games where you go through and you have to find clues. It's not very action oriented. It's more like discovery and puzzle unlocking.
Right.
And since it sort of each part builds on itself, I decided to kind of put together a pre-recorded highlights. Just kind of give you an idea so you could kind of see what gameplay would be like. And also give you an idea of how it would play out for if you have younger kids too. So this is Nightmares from the Deep: The Cursed Heart. Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
For most of the 18th century, the Caribbean Sea was a deadly place to sail. Its waters were terrorized by the fearsome Captain Remington.
Look, Dylan, the ladder.
Crack.
The crack is too small to squeeze through. We have to find a way to... wait a minute. I have an axe. Look at that. No problemo now.
Mom! Help me!
What do you think, Dylan? Ooh, we just got a skeleton arm.
Nice.
Gross. Skeleton hand. Gross.
Whoa, look at that.
Ooh, we got a screw thingy. Oh, look, Dill. We could use this saw to cut this hatch open. Yeah, there we go. Now we can go down here. Look, there's a whole bunch of stuff down here. Uh-oh. What's this? Oh, we need starfishes to get in here. That's what those starfishes are for. They unlock the door. So now we have to go get more starfishes. Oh, I didn't see that door. I didn't even see that. Ah, look what I found.
What's that really loud noise?
I don't know. Hey, look, a starfish. I got a starfish.
He was going there.
I got a key. Here we go.
This is a really spooky game.
Yeah, do you like it?
Uh-huh.
That's awesome. I agree with him too.
So it's kind of an adventure explorer game.
cool.
Yeah, and the kid loved it. He really, I asked him on the drive home after we were here at the studio recording, I said, so, out of all the games we played, what was your favorite? And he said it was definitely that pirate game. And I went home later and played it some more. It is so fun to play, and it's just it's about exploring. It's not about shooting people. It's a little spooky, but it's perfect for Halloween, really.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's go check it out. That is Nightmares from the Deep: The Cursed Heart, and it's on Steam for a pretty good price right now.
Cool.
Some of these were on sale when I started looking at them, and now they're not on sale.
Well, and when in doubt, if you can't get them now, wish list them out and wait for them to go on sale.
$7.99 for Nightmares from the Deep. A thrilling world of pirates, Matt.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. All right. So now the next one I want to talk about is it's also an adventure game, but it's the total opposite of a pirate game. It is a space explorer.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely awesome.
Yeah, and it is awesome. It's called J.U.L.I.A Among the Stars. It's beautiful. It is gripping, and it is also the same style where you're on. Right now, I'm on a planet, and I will see if it supports Steam Cloud, because I actually haven't played much on the Bonobes, but I've been. We'll see if it. Oh, it doesn't. Well, it's okay. I'll show you the new game because you can kind of see a little bit of the animation, and then you give an idea of what the game's like. Gorgeous, and not a lot of space games for Linux either. A little bit of a Battlestar Galactica
I was gonna say,
feel to it.
Initially it had a Firefly flare, but then it kind of went BSG.
If you're watching the video version and you see some screen tearing, that's just from our capture. It's not in the game.
Yeah.
So these are the actual worlds you play in. These are the visuals that you get to walk around inside of. That's the planet you're going to explore. That's the ship you're on.
You got your gravity wheel. That's cool.
All right, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. J.U.L.I.A Among the Stars. You end up being a person who's operating the ship and working with the computer and automated probes. It's you get to interact with a future computer UI. You get to interact with AI machines, drones.
Very HAL-like. So you're coming out of deep sleep.
Yeah, I'm coming out of deep sleep right now. So you can get a little idea of that. You actually interact. All of this UI you're seeing right now on screen is interactable. All these are buttons.
It's Windows
you push.
10. I mean, clearly, or 11. Could be 11.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'll see if it'll let me skip ahead here. No, it just doesn't let me. All right, here we go. So this is the UI that I start interacting with.
Hello, computer. Thank you for arriving so quickly, Rachel. I know you may be a little disoriented, but I need your help.
What's going on? And where is everybody?
The probe has been hit by a meteor storm. Several core systems have malfunctioned, and the probe is in danger of catastrophic failure.
So now begins what you do a lot in this game is you find clues, and then there's mini games and puzzles you have to solve. They start really easy, they get more complicated. So the beginning is you've been wakened from cryosleep. Your ship has just taken a lot of damage. It's about to be destroyed, and you're sort of disoriented, which works because as a player, you're just being thrown into the game too. So you're right there with the person.
I like that.
Now you got to solve the problem. And I'll show you for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't support Steam Cloud Save, so I can't show you further on in the game.
That's okay. It's okay.
You just have to take my word that it just gets better and better. When you get down on the planet, it gets dark a little bit. There's been a murder. It's really good. So here, I'll show you the UI for doing the repairs, and then we'll kind of move on.
Tell you more.
Okay, so these red areas are damaged.
There are 3 conditions
that's
we
easy
need
to
to
follow.
eliminate: electricity, fire, and poisonous gas fumes.
So I can use sprinklers to put out the fire, ventilators to get rid of the gas, and circuit breakers to turn off the electricity.
So
right?
Exactly.
I've turned off the power to the room, and I've turned on power to the sprinkler system. Now, but it's not breathable, so now I have to find the power that turns on the ventilation system. If I were to turn on the ventilation system while the fire was still going, it would ignite the fire even further.
Oh my God!
So you see the little mini game aspect to it here?
There's some intelligence behind it. You actually have to pay attention.
What's great is the computer
5, 8, 6.
isn't just like this thing that generates noise in the background. She's actually very helpful. And then later on, you release a mobile drone, the Mobot. And the Mobot is the coolest frickin' robot ever. And it's so what we would invent, like to send somebody to a planet. And there's a mystery here.
Wow.
And it is very rewarding as you find stuff, and there is a hint system involved too. So if you get a little lost, it'll kind of give you instructions on what to do next.
I'm that guy,
Same with the pirate game.
Okay.
They'll give you little hints. I like the way this game does it better than the pirate game. So here you can see here's a different scenario, right, where the electrical's out of control. I'll do this one and then we'll wrap up.
Rachel.
This is the simplest of all the mini games because this is the tutorial essentially.
Right. Okay.
And I also like that, by the way. I like
That's
games.
a big thing for me.
The tutorial is the game, and you just get right in, and your progress in the tutorial goes towards the game. So there, I've just turned off the circuit, and now the room is stopped from going red, and it's green or blue.
Nice.
Really fun game.
I like that. I love the fact that tutorialized that because that does kind of help you to learn how
it
all
just
the
came
stuff
out
works.
for Linux this week. J.U.L.I.A. Among the Stars. I really recommend it. It is fun, and let me see if I can pull it.
You know, I normally I'm into the space games to where you can like pile a bunch of folks into a cargo thing and like space them, but I'm okay with this too. You know, this is cool.
It's a little expensive. It's $19.99, but here's
if it's got enough gameplay that works though.
Yeah, you definitely do. And back to the curator thing, you can see here now Steam is including because I'm following Linux gaming on Linux.
Oh yeah, right.
Because I'm following gaming on Linux, I can see their comments as I look at the store page.
Oh, that's helpful.
That actually pushed me over
the whole curating thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that actually pushed me over to buy it, and I got it. And
like it.
Now, Matt, I know when you're doing Geek and the Gamer, you sometimes like to get your retro on, right?
Usually.
And this next game, it's two things. It's very retro.
Okay.
But it's brand new. It's literally brand new. In fact, let me go to the store page. All these games are brand new. It was released on October 1st. So that's how new this is. It's called Super Win the Game. Super Win the Game.
Cool.
You might notice when I started up here, this was Dylan's second favorite game. It has a bit of a retro feel to it. In fact, it even emulates the CRT screen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is very...
Tell me that's not Super Nintendo, right?
It really is.
How great is this?
That's cool.
Look at that. Yeah. Look at that. And so you hit enter to begin. It works with the controller too, but I'm going to be using the keyboard for
You'll
this.
You'll be starring as Lucky the Leprechaun here.
So here we go. So you...
I love the middies. That's great.
Oh, don't hit the bat. If you hit the bat, you die.
Gonna have a bat.
So the game has an interesting gameplay mechanic. Instead of getting 1-ups and stuff like that, it has bells. So like I can't get in here.
Okay.
But wherever there's a bell, that's where you'll respawn. So like if I hit this bat and died, so I die. Now I respawn to wherever a bell is in the game.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Little Zelda here.
Oh, yeah. Very much so, huh?
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. It's great. So,
I like this. I can see this being a real addictive game.
It's very fun to just walk around. You hit different encounters. I mean, I don't know if you're not our age. I don't know if this is appealing or not. Dylan liked the sound a lot.
Yeah.
So like here's a little encounter up here.
Well, there's a lot of younger people that do dig the retro games, and so
beware of the evil. So there's a little mystery that I'm trying to solve right now. But see, all these doors are locked. So I think I'm ahead of where I'm supposed to be. So I'll just move along. I love this, but you can buy the soundtrack too when you get it.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely see this. This would be a lot of fun. I might pick this
And
up.
so I could do Shift Tab right now, and I could bring up my Steam music if I wanted to, if I wanted to change it.
Right.
But so you go around, you just get different worlds and stuff, and like here. Oh, here's a good one.
Here's a question. So you Shift Tab, bring up your menu, and you change the music. Does that then replace the soundtrack to the game you're playing? Or overlap it?
No.
Okay.
So what I do?
Because that would be incredible.
Yeah, it would. And maybe some games it does. I don't know. I only tried it a couple of times. But what I do is I just turn the music. Almost all games have the separate music control.
Right.
So here's an example. So I get this bell. So now if I die, I'll respawn there.
Okay.
And then I go down here. You see a little trickiness there?
Mario action.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So you wait for the spikes, but if I were to die on these spikes, I'll go up here and die for you, just to kind of show you. See, now I respawn at that bell. Yeah, it's neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and it gets more like Zelda and more.
That's cool. I like that.
So these kind of games for me, there's this line where you cross, where it's like, okay, it's pixel graphics for pixel graphics' sake, and then it's like, oh no, this is actually a style. What they have done here is from the moment you launch the game, this feels true to the experience you had back in the late 80s.
It does, exactly. They're not trying to make it something it's not. Yeah.
Right. They're not. You could turn off the CRT effect if you want, but like the CRT thing is there because that's what it looked like when we played these games.
Well, and honestly, it fits better. I was playing Missile Command here the other day on an old Atari, and it on a big screen it's painful because you got more. You're trying to
my gosh, dude! It really is. Yeah.
Oh man. So
that's called Super Win the Game, and it is so fun, and it's just maybe it's just because it's scratching that nostalgia for me. It's about $12 on Steam.
I think it's a good game, and I think it's got a cool kind of a cool game to just kind of plug the kids into and be like, hey, check this out.
You remember Race the Sun?
Yes,
love Race the Sun. I'll often play it on the pre-show. But there's a new game that has come to punish me and make me feel like an old, dumb, slow man.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
That's called Velocibox, and I want to show it to you. It's like race. It's like everything that's hard about Race the Sun, way harder. So I'm going to start it right here on Ultra Mode, 1920 by 1080. It logs me into Steam. Velocibox. Okay. I am not going to do well. Please do not judge me. This is a hard game for my old brain. Here we go. You ready, Matt?
Okay.
There's your controls.
You got your moves.
You got your controls. You got it. You got flip, left, right. Flip, left, right. That's it. Flip, left, right.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I already died.
Can you joystick? Can you gamepad on this?
Yeah, I think you can.
That might be doable then. It'd still make my head spin, but oh my gosh.
Oh, I hit that bar. All right, let me try again. I'm just getting in the groove, man. I'm just getting in the groove.
Yeah.
This is like caffeine for me.
Holy cow.
All right, here we go. So I'm dodging. What's up, Matt? What's up?
Holy cow.
Oh!
So the flip is like when they're... Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I'll give one more just to kind of so you can see it, but... All right. Oh!
Oh.
All right, one more. I gotta get a little bit further. I gotta get a high score at
Really
least.
creative game. I like this.
For Jesus' sake. Oh! It's so horrible.
Denied.
All right. So that's Velocibox. I'm gonna play one more. I gotta try one more, man. I gotta see if I can get a high score, okay? Let me try one more. All right, here we go. This is Velocibox. It's out on Steam. It'll make you feel like an old person. Oh. Okay, one more try. I'm still not getting the high score. This is it. This is the last try right here. Oh, no!
Denied.
Anyways, that's Velocibox. It's a jerk. Don't get it. No, it's fun.
It looks like a good game.
And I'll get better.
And it'll teach you patience.
Yeah. Yes. Just one more. Just one more. All right, chat room. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. If you've got Borderlands 2, load it up right now, chat room. Borderlands 2, it's an action role-playing first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Software and published by 2K Games on September 18th, 2012, a while ago. It is the second game in the Borderlands series. It's a sequel to the 2009 Borderlands. As with the first game, Borderlands 2, the players of Borderlands 2 compete on a campaign of several quests and optional side missions and treasures. Vault hunters on the planet of Pandora go out and get as much loot as possible.
yes.
Key gameplay features from the original game are carried over, like collaborative gameplay, it's even better, randomly generated loot, and that includes, by the way, weapons and cool shield combos, which is really fun, character building elements, which make it unique every time you play it. You can trick out your character in different ways. So this is a first-person shooter that meets an RPG.
And it's funny, especially if you're playing like single player with that robot. He is off the chain.
Very
hysterical.
funny. It's very funny. It's so
Check out the trailer sometime. It's funny.
It's one of these games where if you like a little MMO aspect where you can build out your character and get quests, it's got that.
But not too much.
Right.
Not to the point where you're going, oh my God, wake me up.
So I'm going to start it up. I don't know if people in the chat room are playing. One of the things I wanted to showcase, we'll see how well it works out, is this is really taking advantage of the Steam community stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Where it is so easy to do co-op play that you'll actually do it.
Oh, definitely. I would play it, yeah. I mean, I've been playing single player, but I could definitely see myself co-oping
it's been ported by Aspire, which they make great Linux ports. They're kind of new to making Linux ports, but one of the things about Aspire is they stick with it.
Yes, and they
continue to update.
did a really nice job.
They've already updated Borderlands 2 since it was released earlier this week.
Yeah, there was a
Linux.
minor bug, I forget what it was, but it was something that needed to be addressed, and they got right on it.
There's still a few more glitches, specifically around AMD graphics and stuff. By the way, I have a link in the show notes if you're having problems with Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
I have a troubleshooting thread that you might want to dig through that might help.
And if you're going to be into Linux gaming, do yourself a favor and I mean this legitimately because I have an AMD machine myself. Get yourself an NVIDIA card. It just, in general, will make your life easier.
And let me make sure, by the way, a little pro tip. You know how you and I were talking about how we get too many instant messages?
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're online in your friends. So I am online right now.
That's right. So I would have to turn mine on.
Yeah, you got to do that. So now my gameplay is open. I'm playing a lady.
Okay.
I'm trying to break down barriers.
She is
Matt.
hot with a W.
She is actually. She's pretty mean. The one thing is she's not a tank, and I'm kind of a tank style.
Oh yeah. See, I always go for the big tank, dude. Just kind of allows me to.
So there we go. We got Fish and Blackout. We got one more slot open. I wanted to give a couple of honorable mentions while we wait for our last player, and chat room's totally calling these out. If I wasn't doing a top 5, I would have also, by the way, included Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Yes, I agree.
Very good, and Civ 5.
I never got into Civ myself, but yeah, Counter-Strike. I'm just more. I have such a bad ADD thing that I need just to blow stuff up.
And the only reason why I didn't feature them here is they are really, really, really good. But there's been some new releases that are amazing, and also we've talked about them before.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All right. Well, while we were talking, we got 2 other folks to join us, and that's probably enough. And
yeah, we're good.
I'll show you this just really quick. You could click this, and I could say, well, there's Threeville. I'll invite him, Bashmaster, and Blackout. Oh, Blackout's already in. Sorry, Blackout, not to spam you. But you could go through here, and you could invite your friends and say, hey, do you want to come play with us?
Right.
It's just kind of neat, right? Mr. Mango, I'll invite him. Dr. Kaz is playing a different game, and so it's.
Oh, that's helpful. So you're not, you can say, oh, they're busy.
See, I can see he's playing Titan Fusion, Space Engineers, Alien Wake. So I won't bother them.
Now, someone's not in game. You can be like, oh, maybe they're deciding. Maybe I can invite them. Oh, that's cool.
Or they have Steam open.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see if it's just the 3 of us. We'll continue on a game that we've already been playing. I'm kind of a Borderlands noob, Matt, but this is maybe the best game of the year for Linux. Maybe.
I would say, yeah. Based on my experience thus far, I'd say probably, absolutely, actually.
All right.
I'm trying to think of a couple.
Oh, look, it put us back here, huh? All right, guys.
Wow. That's okay. There's a good part.
Fish and Blackout, if you guys remember the way, go ahead and take us. So immediately you'll notice the cell shading look, the lighting effects, the snow is gorgeous.
See, and I prefer a game with this type of cell shading.
Yeah, it kind of changes it. It's not as real, so it's more fun.
Well, it feels like a comic book. It feels like a graphic novel. You're playing a graphic novel, and I prefer games like that because they're more interesting, quite honestly.
Yeah,
they're not trying to be realistic. They're trying to be cool.
All right, I'm going to follow the guys because these guys know where to go. I have no idea where to go. So I'm going around the corner because we were playing on the pre-show, and so they remember what we did, and I have no recollection.
Yeah, they're all like, all right.
There, you remember, Chris? We were over here, and now I'm running this way. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Ooh. So a lot of guns. So right now I have kind of like a close-up shotgun. As I approach these guys, I should probably switch to more like a long-range weapon, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, if you got a tank, I'd go short range and just get right in their grill.
Yeah. I just like to get up in their grill for some reason. Because that's how I'd want to do it in real life. I would die so hard in real life. Yeah. Got myself on fire with that one.
Nice. Yeah, I heard her moaning the screen.
Yeah.
She's having a bad time.
You all right, Fish? You all right? Here, I'll help you. So now I'm helping my friend. He needs a little help. And one of the cool things in Borderlands is when you're down and out, you can kind of redeem yourself by kind of like down on one leg and shooting people.
Oh, nice. Right.
All right, so we're moving forward now. And you just see the general ambiance of the game is great.
It's gorgeous.
We're on a quest right now. We're going to complete something. When we're done, we'll get a reward for that quest. We'll get new loot and stuff like that. Oh yeah, this is a great spot right here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, get up high. There you go. Camping.
Yeah, and see now I can switch to one of my other guns, which is much better at long range. And you do have to kind of, you have to manage your ammo. I don't really like the reload system in here.
Oh, I don't mind that so much. It's I always forget to look for more ammunition, and then I have to run around getting my butt handed to me.
Yeah, I think Gears of War had the best reload. Because Gears of War had like this kind of like incentive to reload just at the right moment that felt so good when you got it. So the real key to playing Borderlands is playing with guys that kill all the guys while you go get loot.
That's important because I've played single player, and while the robot is entertaining throughout the entire game, you get your butt handed to you.
We're kidding. I kind of want to. I think we should acknowledge the fact that this is genuinely one of the greatest first-person shooters, and it's now just available on Linux.
Yeah,
and it's amazing on Linux.
It's got all this stuff like, wouldn't it be cool if I could? Oh, I can do that. Well, wouldn't it be neat if I could invite? Oh, yeah, I can do that. I mean, it seems to really
I just leveled up.
Whoop, whoop. Nice.
So, to me, out of all the games we recommend today, Borderlands 2 is clearly like one of the longest. Like, you're going to get the most gameplay out of this because you've also got a lot of downloadable content.
That helps a lot.
The multiplayer is really advanced,
and it's a hot game. So if you're just wanting to, get your friends on board, it's usually pretty easy to do.
Also works really well with the controller.
Yes.
So if your controller, I'm doing mouse and keyboard right now with the WASD, but if you're a controller fanatic, it's got great controllers. In fact, sometimes it feels like it's maybe controller first a little bit because
it might be. Yeah, I noticed that like sighting in's still a little interesting, but
sighting and like picking through the game could fix.
I have a gaming mouse that I swapped to, and that did make a world of difference.
Nice.
Just as far as sensitivity, it's an older gaming mouse that I've had, but I plugged it in. It's like, oh my god, that's so much better.
So I've heard that folks that aren't on NVIDIA cards are not having as good of an experience.
And that's that's unfortunate. But
it is kind of at the point right now where it's like if you just want to kind of have a straightforward Linux gaming experience, you do kind of have to be on NVIDIA. You can use the open source drivers for a lot of games, but to really push it.
Well, and the card you recommended that I got, which was really reasonably priced and has been on sale for a while now. I forget the exact GT 750, I think, or something like that. it's reasonably priced. I'd really recommend it. Low power. You're not going to need a new power supply.
Right, that's true. Yeah,
I mean,
it
it'll
doesn't
plug
even
into
require
anything.
the PCI extra power line, does it?
No, it doesn't require anything. It will work with a very.
Do you remember? Was it the
system.
GTX? It was like their lower end GTX, but it's still like it's got the newer chip, but it's like reasonably
Yeah,
priced.
I want to say. Oh goodness. I'll find it when I get home, and then I'll email it to you.
G
You can
plus
add
it or
to the-
something.
Yeah,
G plus
I'll
it or
G plus it to you. Okay.
Or just put it on your G plus. People can follow you on
Yeah,
G plus.
just go to my G plus. I'll put it up on there.
Or in the subreddit.
Yeah, and it may even already be up there. I've certainly bragged.
Yeah,
about
you
it
have
enough.
talked about it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, super fun game, and it's rewarding because every time you play it, you can pick a different character, you get different guns.
Yeah.
You can see how good the Fish and Blackout right here are just playing right along with us. Oh, this is a great part. This is a lot of fun.
Now, one thing you guys can do is if your machine's an AMD machine, and I wonder how this would work, and you got like a roommate or whatever that's got an NVIDIA setup, could they stream
it? Totally.
Yeah, they could stream it to your
Yeah.
AMD box. So
Yep.
that would be one, option you could try if you're kind of stuck in the AMD situation.
So, anyways,
yeah.
this is Borderlands 2, available for Linux now. And the other thing that's really neat is they're about to do a pre-sequel, and you can pre-order it right now in Steam. And the neat thing is they're announcing the pre-sequel they're releasing the pre-sequel for Windows at the same time they're releasing the pre-sequel
Nice.
for Linux and all the other platforms.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with not just the gameplay itself, but just how they handled the release and everything.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm really happy with it. So yeah.
So that is Borderlands 2. It is awesome, and it is available for Linux now.
And it's fun single player. You actually, the robot will keep you entertained the entire time.
Yeah,
I get distracted really easily, and I found it to be quite entertaining.
Yeah, it is really good. And we'll have links to all of those, including the Borderlands 2 troubleshooting thread if you need that. And some of them are on sale right now, but probably by the time a lot of you are watching this, they won't be anymore. But go grab them. Now that you're inside, now that you're locked up in your house because it's crappy outside.
Yeah, staying away from the cold.
Or it's getting too muggy.
Yep. Yeah, I guess some folks down south are still doing some heat.
Yeah. So that is the Linux Action Show's top 5 best games of the fall. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But Matt,
yes.
Before we get out of here, we got an email to get to and some other follow-up too as well. Pablo writes in with a question, and this is one that we've covered before, so instead of doing a whole segment out of it, I just thought we'd do it as a quick email.
All right.
He says, "Hey guys, I've been a last follower for a long time, and this is the first time I'm writing you. The thing is, I'm trying to go Google free. And while email is still a big issue, after playing for 6 months with Fastmail, I realized that I don't think there's a way to keep contacts in sync. This is quite important because I use Google Contacts on my Android phone. Besides the standard import and export, it doesn't seem like there's a definitive solution. My ideal solution would be hosting my contacts in something that's mine, an ad hoc solution like OwnCloud, etc., and then syncing them through my mail client or Fastmail, hopefully, Android or etc. I'm not sure if you've already covered this topic, but if you have, please tell me where. Regards from Chile."
Yeah.
So, Pablo, I'm currently using OwnCloud on my DigitalOcean droplet to handle my contacts. In fact, I'm still using Google for my mail, but all of my notes and contacts and calendar appointments are syncing to OwnCloud. And it's really easy. You just use CardDev and CalDev, and there's a tutorial for OwnCloud right in their documentation step-by-step on how to set it up.
Nice.
And I would recommend an Ubuntu 14.04 system because it's just like a 3-step guide to getting OwnCloud running on Ubuntu 14.04. A little bit more steps if you want HTTPS. You move your stuff up there. You configure Android to sync to CardDev and CalDev, or iOS, and it just does it. And from then on, anytime you add a contact on OwnCloud or your phone, they'll sync, and then you just got to find somewhere else for your mail, like an IMAP provider, like Fastmail or something like that. And that's how you do it, Pablo. Easy peasy. So my personal implementation, just to recap, DigitalOcean Droplet, Ubuntu 14.04, 3-step OwnCloud installation, CardDev, CalDev on the phone.
Nice.
There you go.
Good stuff.
All right, Matt. Another email comes in from Robert. We don't usually cover emails asking us to talk about fundraisers,
Right.
Like
of course,
Indiegogos. But this one I think we should. He says, "Dear Chris and Matt, I make music and volunteer at the Creative Commons music website CC Mixter. At CC Mixter, we collaborate with one another by using liberally licensed audio samples to permit us to create attribution or attribution non-commercial Creative Commons licensed songs for free." And for reuse. The result is that podcast, games, and video games have access to a broad library of useful music to help them keep the internet just a little more open. CC Mixter is running a crowdfunding campaign in order to maintain its free-to-use, free-to-download system. After 10 years of serving its mission, they need to update a bit. through this. It's though this is more of a free culture than Linux per se, I'll bet that some of your listeners have used CC Mixter in tracks and games and such, etc., or maybe in podcasts. He says, if you'd like more information, go to indiegogo.com/project/cc-mixter-open-music-for-the world.
Goodness.
We have it linked in the show notes. And I wanted to play a little bit. If you guys are interested, they're trying to raise $44,000. They're 12% of the way at $5,000 with 51 days to go. I think, we talk a lot about open source code, but I think open source Creative Commons and creative creations, music
I think
and art.
Open source culture in general, I think
it's important.
Yeah.
And I'll play a little bit of their video for you.
CC Mixter is a global music community with over 5,000 artists from 192 countries. We collaborate and create open source music. There you go. Together, we've uploaded over 35,000 original songs, samples, and remixes. We use Creative Commons licenses so you can interact with our music that is now found all over the internet, all over the world.
CC Mixter, the new music generator. The new music. The new music.
Our global currency is attribution.
Give us credit.
That makes CC Mixter free for musicians and other creators. CC Mixter is operated by loyal community volunteers. But now, we need your help.
So we'll have a link in the show notes. And the thing is I think this is pretty important because we talk a lot about it sucks that Netflix is enforcing DRM and HTML5 and this and that and I want...
Right.
Well, one way to really fix this problem, to stop forcing companies to require DRM be built into HTML5 and all these things is to stop buying their shit. And the way to do that is by supporting things like Creative Commons music and artists and things like that and helping make it a reality for independent content creators to use stuff like this so that way they don't have to be part of the big Hollywood club to have access to similar resources. The unfortunate thing is that does actually require more participation on the behalf of the consumer than the larger big media stuff does. And I think that's why this project is important. Indiegogo.com has a fundraiser for them, which we will have linked in the show notes.
Very cool. And I definitely think that's a more proactive thing than just complaining.
So. Exactly, Matt.
Yep.
Hey, speaking of complaining, you can catch a lot of that on Linux Unplugged.
Never.
Episode 60. Hey, we just hit the big 6-0. I love this show. This show is it's gotten better and better as it goes on. It's an open talk show format about Linux. It's really a place for Linux users to just live being in Linux. It's not about showcasing Linux so much as living with the day-to-day realities of Linux, bringing in our virtual lug and discussing the matters at hand. And I think 60, while it got heated,
it got,
there was, it made some people uncomfortable. I think what we got to was an incredibly interesting conversation in episode 60.
And I think if every single episode was making people comfortable, we were doing it wrong.
Right. That's true.
Clearly, you got to have a little friction. It's good
and
for
you know what? If you need to simmer down, I recommend you go read some writing by Mr. Matt Hartley over at datamation.com.
Yep, new articles popping up all the time. Just go check them out.
I'm pretty excited. If maybe reading isn't your style, maybe you like to stick stuff. Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. Check this out, Matt.
Stickers.
If you followed the Jupiter Broadcasting Instagram account, you already saw our Ohio Linux Fest stickers came in. These will be the stickers we're giving out exclusively at Ohio Linux Fest. And here it is. I have it right here. You see, here's a demo. You see my laptop with the stickers?
It's even HTML5 camera friendly.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
There, look at that.
There we go.
Don't you think this sticker's going to look good on somebody's laptop?
Screwed. You're going to have to get another big laptop.
Yeah, I got to get a 21-inch laptop to fit these. But right next to the Linux Fest Northwest sticker, I'm going to put the Ohio sticker.
It kind of cups.
Yeah, isn't that a nice sticker? And
looks
so
good.
it's, if you're not if you're not watching the video version, it's in the shape of Ohio. It's got the Jupiter Broadcasting logo and Ohio Linux Fest 2014 on there. These are vinyl stickers, so they'll look really good on your laptop if that's where you want to put them.
And they pop.
And we have a whole bunch of them to hand out to folks who come say hi at Ohio Linux Fest 2014 at the end of October. I've got the first sticker.
I win.
I'm not even putting this on my laptop. I'm gonna ask my wife to do it. Yeah.
Nice.
And we'll be posting all of our exploits over at Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. There's my handsome son Dylan when he was.
That's a great photo.
He's noting down his thoughts about the show, about the different games, and he vetoed 2 games from the lineup.
No, I mean he did a really good job.
He's cracking the whip. Cracking the whip. Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting if you want to follow us over there. You can also see this great rendition of that viewer Cody drew of Angela and I.
Yeah, I took this the third time I looked at it. I realized there is a reason for the Ken doll-esque experience that Chris is experiencing here because Angela is taking care of that in the background. So I thought that was rather interesting.
That's very true. The other thing I think it's funny is you notice how half my bonobo doesn't have stickers?
Yeah, what's up
But
with
in
that?
reality,
That's
it does.
crazy.
It's just you never see that half. But
that's an interesting observation.
Well, there are
because it
stickers
does.
on there.
You see the cutoff? There's a split.
Yeah, there is stickers
That's
over there. You
funny.
just don't ever see them. So he just drew half. He just drew half the bonobo.
Awesome. Nice.
Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcast. What? I like Instagram. Screw you. So what?
That's it. That's what it is.
There's cool pictures on there. Damn it. Join us live, won't you? JBLive.tv Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. If that doesn't make sense to you because it's Pacific, don't worry. JupiterBroadcasting.com/calendar. Robots are standing by. They'll convert it for you in real time. Beep, 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 beep. Also, you want to help make this show a little different, or you want to make it even better? LinuxActionShow.reddit.com. Submit stories. Give us your insights in the comments, or just your votes. We use that to really kind of determine to set the tone of the show, what you guys want covered, and also we use that for a great source of feedback because we check that a lot more than email. LinuxActionShow.reddit.com. Don't forget about Linux Unplugged on Tuesdays and Tech Talk today, Monday through Thursday. During the pre-show, we were playing a clip of Steve Ballmer selling Windows 1.0.
That was awesome.
I actually played that like Wednesday or Thursday in Tech Talk. We have a lot of great retro tech videos we play in Tech Talk today. And it's also just a good way to get up to date on the general tech news from the perspective of a Linux advocate who comes from the open source community and says, let's look at this a little bit differently than the reporters out of Silicon Valley.
Well, it's a special formula. First thing you do is you take the Kool-Aid and you put it on the top shelf.
Right.
And then you shut the cupboard door and walk the hell away from it. Shoot it with a missile launcher and then have a show.
It's funny,
that's essentially what it
when
is.
you talk about the tech news without the Kool-Aid, how you sometimes arrive at different things than all the other podcasts do. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. So everybody's like, oh, no, totally. The reason they're going with Windows 10 is for all that software that does a string check, and it checks for a 9, and because it sees a 9, it would break the software. Okay, so let's stop right there. Is that true? Probably a teensy bit true, but you don't even have to believe me. Ray Ozzie, former bigwig at Microsoft.
Right.
Guy was working at Microsoft, helped develop Azure, helped write the original Lotus notes, okay? Yeah. Okay? Ray Ozzie, who's been writing software for Windows for, I think, longer than a lot of you probably in the chat room have been alive.
Oh, yeah, early 80s, I think, right?
He tweeted saying that it was a ridiculous excuse because, for example, he's personally written software that checks for the version, looks for a 1 in the version. And if it has a 1, the software assumes it is Windows 1.0. Right. That is way worse than the software assuming it is Windows 95 or 98 or whatever. So is it true? Maybe a little bit, but let's be honest. This is a company that's lost it. They're desperate. They know that Windows 8 was a catastrophe. And what they're banking on is that simple-minded consumers who are not paying attention to them can be fooled into believing that this is better than Windows 8. That, I'm just so busy with my life that I didn't notice Windows 9 came out, and this must be the one that came after that, and I'm going to buy this because it must be better than Windows 8. That's undoubtedly, and you know it's true. Yeah. You know it's true, and it will bear this out. And you know what the worst part is? The absolutely most frustrating worst part is it works. I can already tell by the way that the Silicon Valley tech media is covering this. It already has worked. The narrative is already set in. They're already talking about how great it is, how it's a natural transition from Windows 7, how Microsoft has reconsidered the fundamentals. It's the same Windows it has always been, and it's a marketing trick to call it Windows 10. And yes, I know it's the LTS release. Yes, I know it's for version. I'm sure there's probably like 30 pretty good reasons they had to call it Windows 10. And like all of them are probably kind of legit. But the biggest reason, and you know it's true, is to distance it from Windows 8. And that's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's sad. That's the state Microsoft's in now.
Well, let's look at the Xbox consoles, because this is my favorite example. PlayStation, PlayStation 2, 3, 4. You get, we can follow that. And in marketing terms, it may not be uber sexy, but it makes sense. Let's look at Xbox 360. So we have an Xbox model that Couldn't handle a 180. No, we got a 360 back to the fit.
And now it's Xbox One.
Yeah.
You know, okay. Also,
what? I mean,
to Microsoft's credibility, and I have to give them this. They have always really sucked at naming products. They have always been really bad. And remember how the Surface used to be that huge ass table that you were going to put in your living room, and then all of a sudden it's a tiny tablet? What the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly.
What about Metro? What about SkyDrive? Like, they are always the worst. XP. They named their operating system XP. And Vista. That sounds so stupid if you think about it. They are the worst at naming stuff. They're the worst at pretty much everything they do, but they just do it good enough.
Yep.
But the naming is been particularly their worst. Is there going to be Windows 10 Professional and Windows 10 Business Edition and Windows 10 Enterprise and Windows 10 Starter Edition? Are they going to do that again too? And they're going to start giving it away for free too, because everybody else is giving away their operating system for free, and nobody wants to pay for Windows.
No.
We now live in a world where people won't pay for Windows, and they have to call Windows 9 Windows 10. And let's not even forget the fact that it's actually Windows 6 or whatever the hell. It's not even Windows. It's like Windows 10, I believe, by the NT kernel version, is either going to be 6.5 or NT7. Right. It's ridiculous.
If we can live, if Windows can get themselves to a point to where they no longer depend on stickers, and keep in mind, I don't live in a Windows world, so this may have already happened. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But my impression is they were still using that whole sticker thing, to where it's the most expensive sticker in your entire house.
Right.
You don't want to lose it. I think it was I want to say Windows 7, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it was premium or whatever. I was trying to activate it. Legit edition. No, Microsoft told me to go fist myself. Wow. So you better give it away, Microsoft, because no one's going to want to deal with that.
I wonder if they'll drop activation when they start giving it away.
They probably should, honestly.
Of course, like Charon points out, the open source community did name one of their products Beefy Miracle. So
no, that was funny.
Yeah.
And they don't care. I mean, that's the other side of it.
Well, there is something to be said for code named for development.
Right. And Grandma at Best Buy isn't buying Beefy Miracle.
You know what this release of Windows was originally called before Windows 10?
No.
Windows Threshold. That's better.
That's better than Longhorn or whatever.
Windows Threshold's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's like the threshold of something new, but it's not bad. Windows Threshold's not bad. Windows 10 shows, I think, to me, a really pathetic desperation. And I think if you think about it, I think it's actually kind of sad that one of the largest software makers in the world is kind of embarrassingly publicly flailing around right now. The last thing about the Windows 10 name is, and this is maybe the worst thing about it, is they probably had a committee. They probably sat around in deliberation let's January trying to figure out what the hell they're going to call this thing. And this is what their group mind came up with. Is let's just publicly display our desperation to because what it reveals is internally they're aware of what a train wreck disaster Windows 8 is, and that it is so bad to save the brand of Windows, they have to distance themselves from their own product.
Yeah, I would agree.
From their own product, you guys, not from somebody else's. They're it's not somebody else coming out with Windows 10 to make it sound like they're trying to get away from their own product. Dylan, can I talk? Is it okay if I talk, Dylan?
No.
I can't talk. But you're not talking to anybody.
I know.
Okay.
This isn't scary at all.
Not scary to you?
No.
Yeah, I'm not getting the scary vibe either.
Welcome to Necro.
I'm making a show. Bop, bop, bop. Are those watermelons, Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't scary.
You're not scared? You want to veto this game? Oh, let me beat these guys up and then we'll veto it. That's it? Your show's... I can talk now? Is it? Okay, hi. All right, well, it's good to be back.